Okay, I'm recording now, and it's okay to record?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so this is the post-observation meeting that I'm supposed to, that I'm having with you after my observation with you. A couple questions I do want to ask you, and maybe give you some insight, or maybe just what I noticed. But just want to kind of start off with, how did you think the lesson went? What did you think worked very well in the class, in that lesson, or how can you use what worked well in your next class?
I think this class did a really good job with the group work. They stayed in their groups and they were helping and coaching each other along the way, and some of the struggling students, I think they were asking the right questions too, and to get the help.
Okay, yeah, and I kind of saw that too. I remember in our pre-observation meeting, you asked for me to look for students who kind of took a back seat and who didn't, who just kind of tried to blend in and hide. And that's one of the things besides the other two that I looked for. And actually, I saw one or two here and there, but I didn't see a lot. Just to give you an example, one group that that was kind of near me. I think because maybe one of the guys was very strong, and he was coaching one of the weaker one. I believe that was the only senior you had in the class. And the other kid was like, "Oh yeah, he's got this." So he was just kind of playing with a marker after you mentioned that, hey, don't do this anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he was doing that for a while, and then I was just sitting back and seeing. He noticed me looking at him, watching him, and he's like, "Oh," so he stopped. But it was like, yeah, because I think one kid was very strong at coaching and helping the other kid that they just kind of left the other kid out, and he didn't feel like there was a sense of responsibility anymore because somebody else has this. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I didn't see a lot. Maybe a little bit here and there, and then maybe they realized that you were circulating, and then they was okay. Did you? What did you think worked very well in the class? Just the grouping?
I think the group work was, they did work together well.
Okay, and how can you use that? Or what worked very well in your next class?
I think looking at them, I can see like this is what I'm looking for, so I can give proper instructions to my next class. Like this is what I want from them.
Okay.
So they can give me the same behavior back.
Okay, sounds good. Before I ask you a couple more questions, I want to kind of go into some of the things that I noticed, maybe specific information or evidence from just what I observed. And maybe even just kind of like the example that I mentioned about the one kid. He had one strong partner helping out the other students, so he didn't feel any obligation to help. But so I did take some notes while I was observing, and I specifically took notes on. Well, I didn't take notes, but I kept an open I kept an open eye out for kids taking the back seat. Not wanting to kind of be a part of it or just blaming in, but I did do a tally of our what do you call it, our CSTP the element that we wanted to talk about.
Oh, the second one.
Yeah. So one of the things that we talked about in our pre-observation meeting was Standard 1.5, promoting critical thinking through inquiry, problem solving, and reflection.
Okay.
And then we focused on, or we agreed to focus on asking questions to facilitate discussion, clarify and extend student thinking. And for that one, I tallied up 16 questions, like probing questions, just things that you were asking questions. That kind of just further the students' thinking, further their thought process, or just just get a better understanding from them, so yeah. So I made a couple notes. Yeah, you gave so a couple probing or things that you kind of gave incentives to, or you gave incentives to, did you give a Hypal ticket or a couple Hypal tickets to
the
to
raffle
students?
yeah,
Yeah,
I do
raffle
give
ticket.
extra credit tickets.
Okay, you
Right.
know, when kids came in and they saw the warm up on the
Oh,
board
yeah.
and they just started right away, and
Right.
yeah, I saw that, and I saw a couple kids, you know, saw that you did that, and they kind of went to it.
Right. It just
So,
helps me so much more than bickering to them, like,
yeah,
take out your paper, take out your paper, take out your paper. So I think I think the whole PBIS thing
Yeah.
for school helps out.
so yeah, that's one thing I saw, and you know, and I think that really helped. At least you know, picked up a
Right.
few more students. It doesn't,
Right.
you know, it won't do it for everyone, but
And plus they pick up their pace a little bit more. So
Right.
they're hoping to get the little pink ticket.
and then one thing I also saw that or that I noted down was that you during the homework review, you said, hey, I'll only do one more problem. You know, you weren't gonna give them
Like rest of the period.
yeah, rest of the period.
Gotta bring a sense of urgency.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a couple more, but and then so that right there, yeah, I didn't specifically tally or mark down every single one, but I wanted to kind of emphasize that because you know, you kind of wanted to make sure that it was, you know, that the kids know that you're still in charge,
Right.
and you kind of want to create.
Plus they also need to know like why they're doing everything that they're doing instead of like imitating the teacher all the time
Yeah.
for every step.
And then and the other standard that we we're going to focus on was standard 2.1,
Okay.
promoting social development and responsibility within a caring community, and where each student is treated fairly and respectfully. And I noted down 11 tally marks, and you know, I have a couple that you did, and the rest of them the kids did. Most of it was just basically you setting off a kind of like creating an environment, correct? I think that was the environment.
Right.
Right, create a classroom culture,
culture.
yeah, where students feel a sense of responsibility for one and another. And that's kind of like one of the things that you wanted me to look for as well.
Right.
It was it was just seeing kids who take the back seat, but also trying to find kids who feel that, hey, I can help this other
Right.
student.
And it's both. It's
Yeah.
taking responsibility for their own learning and helping out somebody, because I feel like only then they learn a little bit more. Like the students who are helping,
Right,
like when you're teaching, they learn, 2 extra steps.
right. So that responsibility and that culture, I think is very powerful, because you can do all you can know all your content, but if you can't create a culture, or you can't create like an environment where kids will be responsible, then it really doesn't do much for you.
Right.
I marked down that you did a count off, and it was their responsibility to know what number they had. Plus, I mean, they had to be paying attention and being kind of following along with you to know which number they were. Let's see. I noted down responsibilities up at the board. You gave them kind of like the class norms for what they should do when they're at the board. So you had high expectations. You had this, and then and the kids, obviously, I mean, they were pretty awesome. Just me observing and just feel the groups. Just when I was diving into it, a lot of them were just explaining within the group, and I think I might have mentioned this to you, but I mentioned that it seemed like the student who was writing, he wasn't really, or she wasn't really saying much. It was the other two that was kind of cheering him on or cheering her on and coaching them through. And if they got stuck, the other two was always like just kind of have their back. So I thought that was like really good, coaching strategy, group strategies, and I know some of the group when they finished, they looked at the other groups, not to look for the answer, but just to check, because
Right.
as soon as they became a group, they became competitive.
Right.
So that's what I noticed, and I marked down a couple of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So seven. So 7 different culture, or just in terms of creating cultures, in terms of groups, knowing their responsibility and being being able to pick up each other. So, so that, I mean, that's a couple things that I thought that I probably need to talk about. But and that was really good, and I was very pleased for those students because I do know some of them. So.
Oh.
One thing that I do want to talk about is maybe a missed opportunity or two, maybe for a lesson, or maybe it's not a missed opportunity. It's and, I kind of have had a question about during the warm up. You gave them, they came in, you gave them, was it 2 or 3 questions?
2 questions.
2 questions, and then you kind of quickly got to the answer. I don't know, but would there have been a missed opportunity to teach in there, or maybe just to do a random selection? Or I mean, what do you think about that?
I think maybe random selection would have been good. I definitely could have done random selection. That would have been perfect. But I pick a student to come up to the board sometimes, but depending on time. So I knew I needed all the time to go up to the boards today. So I wasn't able to, but I could have done random selection for sure, even if I just wanted them to say the answers.
And I did notice that, and yeah, as soon as you gave them a pretty good chunk of time to do the warm up.
Right.
Not a lot, but about 5 minutes.
Right.
And you got through the answer, and you were done and out of there, and then
Yeah.
you went to the next part of your lesson, which is, and I kind of thought about that too. I was like, yeah, sometimes we want to give them an opportunity to do their own things, or to showcase what they've learned or what they have, but sometimes you just want to get to the point. And
plus I also knew that they would get more practice when they were at the board also. So
correct. So
they were going to have the opportunity anyway.
okay. Is there any, well, basically, what's the next step? Is there anything I can help you with, or just maybe possible professional development or growth? Any activities to support you?
And I think it was good that you were sitting in the back before the students got here.
Okay.
So they didn't see somebody with a clipboard coming in and almost, because students tend to behave differently with that.
True.
But you were sitting there quietly in the back, and so they didn't feel like they had to act differently.
And yeah, and
So that was good. But how you can help me further, I think just something that you try, different strategies that you try in your class with group work.
okay.
Because I don't know if I do enough of that. So if you think of something like, this is what I tried in my groups, that helped me, how about you try this too?
Okay.
So, or maybe I can come by and visit your classroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think what also helped, and for me, I that kind of really gets to me too when somebody comes in with a clipboard and your students act differently.
Right. Because then they don't get a real sense of this is how the classroom was.
Right. And
So.
I've been in your class a couple
Right.
times, just for whatever reason,
Right.
and they, and they've been in my class, as a
Yeah.
whole class, just
Yeah.
hanging out.
And plus
doing stuff. So
and I hadn't mentioned at all that you were coming.
okay.
And so, because I didn't want them to think somebody coming to observe.
Yeah.
And so, plus they know that you're just a colleague and not, my boss or anything, and so
Oh,
they
yeah.
knew that it's nothing, it's whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Is there anything you want to add to to just maybe further my understanding of what to think about your class?
Are you still gonna ask me more questions or no?
I think we're okay. I think we've covered everything.
Okay. We were talking about how would I do, how is this class different, and how I would do things differently.
Okay. Yes.
I think the one thing that helped me, the reason that this class was, you probably saw a lot better because I had, this was at the end of the period, at the end of the day.
Correct. 7th period.
It's
So.
right. And 7th period, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. 7th period could be a good thing because the students are ready to leave, but at the same time, that's actually a bad thing, that they're ready to leave and they don't want to pay attention. But the other thing is, because I just did that lesson 2 times already, and so I learned from my mistakes already.
And you're pretty good right now.
Right, and by 7th period, I was like, okay, I need to. So in my 3rd period, I wasn't clear on my directions.
Okay.
So in my 5th period, I did a better job in my directions. And then 7th period, I gave very clear instructions. So next time when I do this activity, I know I need to give clear instructions from the very beginning. This is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm not looking for, this is how you help, and this is how you coach. And so I think the kids need to be trained, because I haven't done this activity for very long. These whiteboards, and so that's the only reason. So I think if I continue with it, I think I will get better with time though.
Right.
But I think this was a good start.
And I did notice that in our pre-observation, you did mention that they weren't going to be on the whiteboards.
I know, I was hesitant,
but
I think you coming there, and I thought, hey, this is actually a good opportunity for me. And you mentioned that, hey, like,
Yeah,
are you using the whiteboards?
Yeah, well, these are awesome whiteboards. They're
know,
all wrapped
I
all around your
know,
class. So.
I know, and I was hesitant, and then you're like, okay, aren't you going to use the whiteboards? And I thought, hey, you know what? Maybe I will. So at the last minute, I decided in the morning, I said, let's do the whiteboards instead of just having them sit down. And only because we had also been talking about, just the first time we did it, a few days, last week, I think, we were talking about how the whole brain flows to your brain, or
Right.
the blood flows to your brain, and it makes you smarter. And that's why one of the students was saying
was it
that.
Austin? What was he
was
saying?
that.
What's the saying that you guys say?
He says the
Something
the
about.
more you stand up, the smarter you get.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, and that works. I mean, and they're all happy to be, out and about. So.
yeah.
Right.
So good.
Okay. Well.
I'm glad I could.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Sure.